Good morning everyone and welcome back to my channel. As you can see this morning we're doing something a little bit different. I am going to be showing you how I make my barbecue pulled pork. My family love this pulled pork and I've bought shop ones, they don't really like it. This isn't my recipe originally, although I've made some adaptations to how I do it, but I will link the original recipe in the description box below. Right, let's get started. So we've got about a 2 kilo piece of pork. It's pork shoulder, so it's perfect for barbecue pulled pork. I've already started to warm my slow cooker. I've put it on high to warm up and I'll initially cook it for an hour on high. What we're going to do is just pop the pork out the way and I will show you how I do things. Let's bring the slow cooker forward. Just make sure you're in view. It's very hot, so please be careful. There we go. So the first thing I do, and I do it all backwards to the recipe. Now let me just find my spatula. There we go. My nice red spatula. The silicone, I like these silicone spatulas that don't seem to destroy them. First things first, so I'm going to pop in a 1/4 cup of water or thereabouts, and this is where I change everything up because we like it sweet and peppery, so I don't do everything to the recipe. First things first, the recipe asks I think for a teaspoon of salt. I've got about 1/2 teaspoon of salt here. Okay, which I'm going to sprinkle in. Now in the original recipe it says to mix all the ingredients together and put it over the meat. We don't do it that way here, we do it my way. And it actually came from a mistake that I made originally and I didn't correctly read the recipe. Let me just adjust that so you might be able to see a little bit better. There we go. So next I have got some parsley. Sprinkle that in. That's about 1.5 teaspoons of dried parsley. Make sure that goes in. And some garlic powder. That goes in next. And that is about 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. We've got some brown sugar. This is just very finely I want to say blended but packed brown sugar. It's a light brown sugar I use, and we have, the recipe calls I think for 1 tablespoon of paprika. We've got about 2 in here, so we're going to sprinkle that in as well. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to give this a little bit of a stir, start to get the flavours blending together. And you'll see it's quite dry, so it varies each time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a little bit more water. Bear with me. And we're just going to pop a little bit in. We don't want too much, so I think overall we're going to have about 1/3 of a cup of water. We want it so it's just a nice little paste. Bottom. There we go. Right, so that's a nice consistency if I can show you on camera. So it's more like a little sauce, but a pasty sauce. Right, the next thing I'm going to put in, which the recipe that I originally used called for this to be put in at the end. I do 1/2 of this. It calls for a cup of barbecue sauce. This is a little more than a cup. This is the only one that I use. It's by far and most my favourite. So we're going to use about 1/2 of this now. The other 1/2 will get saved for another day. Well, not for another day, I do apologise. For once it's actually cooked. So we're going to put in about 1/2. I am not a complete measurer. I will just use an eye to measure things up. You have to excuse my dog in the background. She's a little bit grumpy because of the temperatures we've had recently. Right, that should be enough of that one. Yep, that's plenty. So whatever's left in here will go in at the end. I think I'm just going to add a tiny little bit more water. Now there is a little bit of, well, I say a little bit, you'll get a lot of water coming out of the pork, but that's normal. You will drain off all the liquid after. Right, so that is nicely mixed in there. Now here comes the fun part. Just grab some kitchen towel. Just going to remove my spatula a second. There we go. Let's pop that down. Now we are going to pop this in. Oh, the meat is broken apart, so that's fine. So this makes it slightly easier. So we're going to coat it like this. Just give it a good coating. We're going to do the same, and we'll put the meat back together. And then we'll just let it grow. Grow? I don't mean grow, I mean cook. I didn't have the best of sleeps last night. So as you can see, that is all nicely in. Now some people say to cut off the fat. I'm going to leave the fat until later on. Let me just rinse off my hands. There we go. What we're going to do now is we're just going to take some of this just to make sure it's all spread over, because that will infuse as it cooks. So I'm a little bit distracted today. We're going to pop the lid on and we're going to leave that for about 8 hours, but the first 2 hours are going to be on high. After 2 hours, what I'll do is I'll turn it, and I'll show you how I turn it. Oh, excuse my doggy in the background. So yeah, after 2 hours I'm going to turn it. I'll show you that process, and it'll get turned again 2 hours after, and then just left. When you get to about 8 hours, I will then shred it, and you'll be able to see all of that, and then I'll pop it in a roll and we will enjoy. Right, we'll come back later. Right, so my barbecued pulled pork has been on for about 2 hours on high now. I'm just going to turn it and leave it for another couple of hours. But let's see if we can get this in one go. I've just got 2 forks, I'm going to spin it. And then what I'll do is I will turn it down onto the low setting. At the moment it's currently just got 2 settings. This one. So I can get that all squeezed down. I do like to try and turn it and as best as I can. It's not the easiest because this isn't the largest of pots. Let's do it that way, I think. I'm just going to top that one down in the side. Right, that's all turned. I'm going to leave that on low for another couple of hours. And then when we come back in a couple of hours time, we're going to flip it back over, and we will then leave it for a further 4 hours and then drain it. I have left this for 16 hours and it's come out so tender and beautiful. But it's all on it's all on low. This is just a small crock pot or slow cooker that I got from the supermarket owned brand. But it suited me and it's worked perfectly well over the years. Anyway, let's pop back in a couple of hours and we'll see how we're getting on. Right, so it's been bubbling away for a couple of hours longer. So it's actually been about 10 hours since I first put it on. Just turning it off now, and I'm going to start to take off the fat and drain the liquid. That I'll do off camera. which you now see. Unfortunately, I did forget to turn my microphone on, so I'm now doing this as a voiceover. Just starting to shred all the meat. 2 forks, pull it all apart and make sure that it is shredded finely. It's been on for such a long time now that it will actually just pull apart, and you just pick any other bits of fat out that you see. I think you'll see me do that in a minute. But the meat really is just falling apart. When I walked in the door from work, I could just smell it straight away. Like I said, it is a family favourite of ours. I will link the description in the box below, so that not the description, sorry, the recipe in the box below. I do make my own adjustments to taste for our family, and you can either make it the original way or you can make it my way, but just make it so it suits you and your family. I do cook this a lot longer than the recipe says, but again, I bought a bigger piece of meat than the recipe says. I do make many adaptations to many recipes, but that's just knowing what my family likes. So as you can see, it is quite fine. In a moment you'll see me get some more barbecue sauce. That's just the second half of what was left in the bottle, maybe just a little bit less than half, and I'm going to pour that in and give it a good mix up. So I think the sauce is just coming now. Yep, there we go. So I'm literally just pouring what was left in, just giving it a good shake. I think I just take it off camera, shake it and try again. But then we're just going to give that a good mix in after. There we go, there's the last little bits. And then what I do is I take the crock pot out, I let it cool. It does say to keep it on for a little while longer while the extra sauce is in there. I don't do that, I just let the heat cook it through or warm it, and yeah, it comes out really nicely. I just put a tea towel underneath or onto the work surface, and then I just let it cool down naturally, and then I put it into a Pyrex dish with a lid and store it in the fridge. We do eat some straight away, although I did cook this to go in packed lunch sandwiches and things like that. So this one wasn't just for a main meal, although that main meal is happening tomorrow. But there is plenty left over for sandwiches for about 3 days. We might put it with a jacket potato or something like that. I'm just giving it a good stir in. Try and make sure that it's all mixed in nicely and get some good even coverage. I'm going to pop the lid back on, and then I am going to, just like I said, pop it out of the actual cooking vat, and then pop it into the onto the tea towel, onto the work surface, let it cool down naturally, and that's it. That's all it takes to cook this barbecued pulled pork. I will put some more recipes up, so my next video is going to be a diamond paint video, I believe, or it might be a packing up video of how I prepare everything to do a diamond painting. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay happy, stay safe, stay happy, and just enjoy this recipe.